Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks for tuning in again to another episode of Crypto Hot Seat, the only interview show in crypto that matters. Today, I am joined by Mr. Vladimir Tomko. He is in charge of Blockchain Cuties, which is a pretty interesting NFT project with quite the large user base. He's operating out of Riga, Latvia today. Vladimir, thanks for joining us on the show.
Hey Dylan, hey everyone, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Yeah, let's jump into.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about Blockchain Cuties, but what some people might not realize if they're just learning about you now is that you've been involved in game development first. Game development was your
Yes,
first love, it seems like, and then crypto happened at later, of course.
yeah,
Could you talk a little bit about Nameless Lands?
sure. Nameless Lands was a shard, like it's a free server on a game called Neverwinter Nights, the one that was released in 2000. And this was like my first project, which I studied game design in, tried to create different worlds. It was like a fantasy world that was based on majority of the popular medieval settings, and the world itself served as like a second chance place for people, different creatures that died in different worlds. So they like were sucked by some kind of portals and were given a second chance on that world. And we tried a community-driven approach even back then. It was late 2004, 2005, and players were trying to invent stuff. They were like founding cities. They became NPCs and so on and so on. So this was the first time that I ever tried to build something together with the community, and it proved to be very effective.
Right on, right on. So it seems to me that that was basically the seed of game development for you, right? That was how this all got started.
Yeah, practically yes.
All right, very good. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the job you were doing previously. It looks like you were working as a game producer for OK.ru.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you could talk about the end of that time and the beginning of Blockchain Cuties. What was going on? How into crypto were you at the time? Were you trading or investing?
Okay, sure. So I was both trading and investing, but a little bit. So it was basically like the end of my work at Odnoklassniki was when I already were like very committed into crypto. We were doing some additional projects, advising some ICOs, trading a little bit, and basically diving very deep into the space. And back then, I already saw the birth of four different markets. So it was like the casual games back in 2003, then the social gaming that happened, then the native mobile applications, and I understood how markets like operate when they're just being born. And when CryptoKitties came out in 2017, in late November, I understood that basically it's the new market being born, and I have the knowledge how they usually develop, what problems they have, and how it is important to be in the first train. So I decided to quit at Naklasniki. We were able to get some funding initial, and we started Blockchain Cuties Universe at the like late December 2017. So I already knew how crypto operates. I knew a lot of the stuff that people were trying to basically mimic CryptoKitties didn't know how it worked. I knew how marketing in crypto worked. So we had some upper hand there, and it proved to be uh, effective. So we used all our knowledge and were able to develop the game in 4 months. But peculiar thing is that when Blockchain Cuties was released, the market changed completely. So our go-to strategy was to use Facebook, Google, Twitter ads to do user acquisition. And like in June, they were banned, all three social networks, and we
Uh-huh.
had to pivot. So that was the defining factor of Blockchain Cuties becoming a multi-blockchain game because we decided to approach different blockchains as app stores and offer them to drive some quality application, be a flagman product on their network, but they would have to help us with marketing. And first one was EOS. We weren't successful with that because EOS was very distributed. There were like block producers, 21 of them. They were all like nourishing their own communities. We tried to work with some of them, but we weren't able to basically market the whole audience. And the second one was Tron. There we did some learning from the mistakes, and we approached Justin Sun directly, and it was a huge success. So with Tron, we gained huge traction and started to use this strategy over and over again.
Perfect. So one of the things you said that jumped out at me was about you recognizing crypto and blockchain as the new marketplace.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what do you think of Steam's decision to basically not only not take a crypto tack, take a crypto approach, but to ban any game with a crypto angle? I mean, I can guess you're going to say that's a bad idea, but can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So the thing is with Steam is that it is very big, and they are a target of regulators, and at some point they were like considered a monopoly on PC gaming markets. So they are under like big scope, and even now the market is booming, crypto is growing, people are pouring in. Still, like some traditional financial institutions and regulators are not very okay with crypto because they still don't control it fully. And I think Steam is in some ways are forced to comply with these unpopular decisions. It is easier for them to basically work like that right now. Maybe later on they decide that they will join crypto, but there is a lot of legal work for them in order to make this announcement and decision. And I think that is the main driver. I don't think that Gabe just hates crypto. I think it's just a legal question for him.
Understood. All right, makes sense. Speaking of regulations, I mean, you mentioned your difficulty, you with user acquisition when advertising platforms started banning crypto. Have you had any other problems
Oh
along those
yes, we
lines?
did.
Talk
We
to us about regulation difficulties, please.
Those are not like particular regulations, but they're connected. So we were rejected from App Store 14 times. We still don't have an app launched. We developed it in early 2019 and weren't able to launch it.
You're talking about an iOS app, yeah?
Yes. Then we had some issues. Like we were the first in the world game that did a fiat on-ramp, and we were able to do card acquiring from American citizens back in summer 2019. But there were issues with that. At some point, we had to work with chargebacks and so on and so on. So we didn't even have like a dedicated anti-money laundering specialist in our team, and it like took at least 2 months from the regular team work to be able to like sustain everything and keep everything in order. So we did encountered some of the issues. We were trying to do Facebook ads like sort of secretly. There were schemes how to do that, and it also ate a lot of time and a lot of money. And in general, even when we were like successful of bringing the ads on the platform, we still like spend a lot more money than we were able to get back. Additional thing, it's not related with regulators particularly, but it's more like with education. When we were onboarding people who didn't know about crypto, and we made like a funnel so it is very easy for them to start playing with credit card, we found out that they weren't a part of the community and they didn't know what to do with the NFTs. So they usually left within a week because for them it was like it required a lot of knowledge that they didn't have. And before then, there weren't any organizations like yield guilds that took the onboarding on themselves, that attached managers to people who play and explain them all the stuff, all the difficult stuff. So for us, adding fiat on ramp wasn't a success. So we were the first. We got some like media attention about that, but that's it. We didn't make a lot of money by doing that. And the whole blockchain cuties like history is basically we were too early to a lot of stuff. So we experimented a lot. We did a lot of things like first on the market, and people who did it like 2 years later or a year and a half later were more successful there because the market was more ripe for that kind of decisions.
Gotcha. So we've definitely got some gamers in our audience, but I know that predominantly the type of person watching this kind of show is an investor, a Token Metrics subscriber. How do you talk about any potential investment opportunity related to your governance token, or is that even maybe
Well,
that's a bad question?
no, question is not bad at all. So we did private sale and IDO back in March this year. So the only tokens that are being sold right now are the ones on the market, and they have, in general, a vesting period of 5 years. So there is two big means for private investors. One is happening this month. So probably we're going to see a downtrend there for some time. And the last one is going to happen in March. So the team right now isn't spending their tokens at all, but we don't do any OTC deals, nothing. So everything that we have is basically on the market. The token right now is listed on several exchanges, and one more listing is probably coming this month. But in terms of like the roadmap and the things that are going to propel the token up, we are preparing those. So there is one particular thing that is only addressable to our game because we're a multi-blockchain game. So the token right now is only on Ethereum, but the majority of players right now are playing on different chains because it's too expensive to play on Ethereum. And it is too expensive to do any transactions with BCUG because you still have to do them on Ethereum. But we have a
Mm.
system which we call off-chain blockchain currencies. What it basically allows you to do is to do a single transaction, deposit into our custody, and you receive the same amount of virtual BCUG or any other token or currency, and you can spend those in the game that you do, like working with us with first party, without doing like blockchain transaction. If you buy something from a player, because the asset has to be moved from his account to yours, you would have to do a normal transaction. But we basically, with that thing, cover around like 50% of the daily transactions within the game. And what we want to do is we want to bridge this token, and we're working towards that to most majority of popular networks within our communities. So people would be able to use it like chain agnostically, no matter where they play. And right now, the biggest issue for us is to do it on EOS and on Neo, because Neo released a new version, Neo free, and we have to do like a total smart contract conversion for that. It is planned for the next year. So probably, hopefully around like February, we will be able to deliver BCUG to every chain that is available on blockchain Cuties, and then the amount of utility and everyday use is going to propel. And the mechanics that we also planned, especially like gameplay farming, are going to follow basically after that.
Gotcha. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the actual gameplay experience of blockchain cuties. If someone is just learning about this for the first time, what's the pitch? How do you talk about the game?
Well, the game actually is pretty complex in terms of opponents that we have in the market. So in pitch in general, it's a crypto collectible game with battle mechanics and with items, a lot of them, more than 1,400, I believe, that can alter
Mhm.
your cuties, that can change their stats and change their roles. So what you do is you buy some cuties, breed them, try to breed your army, and because we don't only have stats, we also have elemental damage. So you can basically tailor them to specific experiences. Some are good in PvP battles, some are good for farming locations, some are good for tournaments. And you create uh, you can imagine yourself being a football manager that manages a team, but the team is
Gotcha.
pretty
Okay.
big. It can be like 100 cuties, 300 cuties. Some people have 15,000 cuties. And they basically manage their time trying to get most of different locations and different events. And additionally, we also have lore, and we have seasonal events that happen like once every 3 or 4 months. And
Mhm.
those events are similar to the ones that happen in Path of Exile. So we create a new seasonal bonus and new items that are being introduced in the game during this season. And players have to race, basically try to get those items, put them on cuties to be effective in that season. And majority of stuff that's being released in the season is limited edition. So when the season ends, you can buy it from us or from the game. You just have to trade it with other players.
Gotcha. Do you have any good data on your users? I'm curious about like the biggest demographic. Like, what's the most common age someone is playing this game?
Yes,
Where are they
sure.
located?
Well, demographics change very drastically, especially during this year when play to earn became hype. So
Uh-huh.
in general, if we're not talking about this year, the majority of players were from United States. Then came Western Europe, Germany, United Kingdom. Then came Ukraine, Russia, and then we had Venezuela. We had people from Philippines, and so on. So this year, everything's changed.
Yeah,
Right
you're
now,
gaining global momentum.
yeah, so at some point, Philippines were number one country. Right now, number one is Iran. I don't know why exactly we don't do marketing in Iran specifically, but majority of players come from Iran. And actually, when we introduced in-game chat that we created ourselves like 2 weeks ago, in the first iteration, people were only speaking in Arabic Farsi, so in Persian Farsi. So we had to
Wow.
create language groups because people who were joining from the United States thought it was like a Persian game. Uh, but US is always in top three. So
Gotcha, gotcha. So what other than blockchain cuties, what crypto games are you playing yourself? What do you have any favorites to share?
I don't have a lot of time to play. I usually do some researches. So of course it's like
Uh,
X Infinity, my DeFi path. Right now we are looking at Solchicks because they're doing a phenomenal job at gaining money. But the game isn't like released yet. And I played my crypto heroes previously until they got hit by Ethereum network congestion. um, I played a lot of the old games, like the ones that were released in 2019 till middle of 2020. So there was like my crypto cities or just crypto cities. I don't remember the exact name. I played those. I played some EOS games like EOS Knights and so on. But right now, we have people in the team that play the games, and they do like reports speaking about the innovation that's being promoted by one of the teams and things like in terms of core game mechanics that work there. We try to discuss them with the team, but unfortunately, right now, I don't have the time to like play myself a lot.
of course, you're busy working on your own game to worry about
Yeah.
others. Um, are you or the blockchain cuties team thinking about any metaverse plays?
Well, of course, and the thing is that well, metaverse right now is also a hyped word, and it's in general it's a very abstract idea, and for some people it's something like that is strictly connected with VR or AR. For other people, it's just ability to gain access to the things that you can't gain access in your like normal life. For example, if you live in Africa and you're pretty poor, you can't go to like a party in the White House in the US. But if it's happening like in metaverse, even if it's just like some virtual 2D objects and people are still communicating, it's still an experience for you and it's like a metaverse experience. So right now, the major trend is that people are trying to follow something similar to what Mark Zuckerberg envisions. So it's a 3D world
Uh-huh.
where you can bring other things in. We are going to become a part of popular metaverses for sure, and we are developing Wars of Qtland update, which is going to be a strategy game where people will be able to like use blockchain cuties assets as a part of a bigger world. It's not going to be like a metaverse, but it's going to have elements of metaverse in there. But the big question in terms of metaverses for me is the sustainability. So it won't work great if you won't be able to do the interoperability of assets or at least the ability to trade them properly. And the thing is that in order to do that, you need to create some sort of protocol, some sort of like liquidity pools that when you push some assets from one game to a bigger metaverse and your game has a shitty economy, it shouldn't influence the bigger game. And
Uh-huh.
the whole crypto is basically this world of interoperable economies, of interoperable markets, and that is very important. So for me, the number one problem that needs to be solved is this economic layer of how people can bring and transfer value without devaluating other games or other parts of the metaverse. And then it doesn't like matter how it looks, because there are going to be many metaverses, many experiences, and we'll have to try and see which one works best.
Cool. Can you tease any big picture news about blockchain cuties, excuse me? Blockchain Cuties coming out next year, 2022. What's in store for you and the team?
So the first thing that is probably going to happen this year, so we're releasing 6 blockchain, which is going to be a hobby echo chain, HECO, and it's going to be the 6th blockchain. And in order to do that, we completely rewrote the blockchain management architecture. We call it chain layer. So what opportunities it introduces is ability to launch any Ethereum-based chain in blockchain Cuties like within 3 days. So we will have to do like pre-sales, create assets. It will take months, but technically we'll be able to put all popular Ethereum virtual machine chains in the game, and it would create enormous amounts of arbitrage for people playing on different chains, enormous opportunities in terms of like getting traction here and there. And it would create us as a more unique player on the market, because nobody is doing things like that. It's definitely going to be like a unique market proposition. Then we are planning to release the first iteration of Wars of Cutieland update, which is going to be a city building strategy game that uses part of the existing economy, items, and so on, and people will be able to combine armies out of their NFTs. So if you want, for example, 100 different swordsmen, you would need 100 cuties to be able to be trained into swordsmen. Then you would need items to put them, like sword, shield, and like head armor, body armor. And then when it is completed, they'll be baked in some one meta NFT, and people will be able to wage wars using those armies. And hopefully we'll be able to deliver it before everybody else, because the idea is like on the surface, and I know that other projects are working on similar ideas. So those are the things that we try to focus on. And additionally, we have a lot of in-game mechanics that didn't receive much love like since 2019, and we need to tweak them, because when we counted the amounts of methods how a player can earn money by playing Blockchain Cuties universe, we find out that there are at least 19 of them. Some are specifically game related, some are near game related, where people are like selling knowledge, selling methods, or trying to like help you to achieve your goals. And we understand that we need to capitalize on them. We need to provide exposure and allow people to learn quickly that they can make money this, or this way.
Very interesting. Looking forward to seeing that. We're just about out of time together, so I hope you don't mind if I wrap this thing up.
Sure.
This is Vladimir Tomko. He runs Blockchain Cuties, and if you're interested in learning more about Blockchain Cuties, if you want to catch on with everybody else that caught on this year, check out blockchaincuties.com. Владимир, спасибо за интервью. Мне было очень интересно.
Спасибо, Дилан. Мне было тоже очень интересно и приятно. Thanks.